Do I love or hate your favorite NFL team? Welcome, football fans, to a very special NFL rankings video. In this video, I rank every NFL team based on how much I like them. Do I like your favorite team? I know that's the question. All of you are saying in the comments, Mitch, why do you hate my team? Well, finally, you will get the answer. If I hate your team or not. Let's have some fun. Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to be a jabroni. And let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my takes on these teams, if you like or dislike my list of likes and dislikes. Okay, let's go. Let's kick it off with the team that I hate the most. I can't stand this football team. At number 32, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Who would have thought? Anybody that's watched the Bottom Line View since about 2020 has realized that Mitch cannot stand the Kansas City Chiefs. And yes, I just spoke in third person. Deal with it. The Chiefs, I can't stand a single part of them. And you know what? Since they've lost the Super Bowl, I kind of don't hate them as much. Because now, oh boy, they're not being compared to the Patriots anymore. Mahomes is not being compared to Tom Brady for a minute. The relief that fills my body. Just beautiful stuff. Now, I still hate the Chiefs because I can't stand Travis Kelce. He's probably the most unlikable football player in the NFL. I can't stand the Taylor Swift shenanigans. I can't stand the fact that the refs outright like them more than other teams. Like, I don't care, Chiefs fans. You can tell me whatever you want. I'm not buying it. This team gets more advantageous, timely calls than any other team in the NFL. And people think that the Chiefs are what the Patriots were in terms of the NFL favoritism, in terms of the commentators sucking them every single game. Bro, people did not live during this Patriots era, clearly. This must be the Gen Z. Because I kind of recall the NFL going after the Patriots for Spygate, whether it was real or not. Going after them for Deflategate, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Stripping them of first-round picks. Constantly finding ways to get them off their game, to cause storylines that were fabricated like pixie dust. And on the other hand, you've got the Chiefs, who never seemingly are called for false starts, never called for holding in big games. Handed Super Bowls. And honestly, win the flukiest ways imaginable, especially the last 2 years. So now you guys understand it. I hate the Chiefs. I can't stand them. And to be honest, they're probably the only team I truly actually despise and hate. That's why they're at number 32. At number 31, a team that I don't like, but not necessarily hate. I can still root for them almost never, but sometimes. At number 31, the New York Jets. And this was not a clear second last. This was not a clear second most hated team. I had to think about this one. And I'm not really sure what it is. Sometimes you just hate teams because you hate them. Maybe it's the New York versus the New England, the Boston New York. Maybe it's that they're in the Patriots division and we play them twice a year. Maybe it's because they were actually the most competitive team at the peak of the Patriots dynasty, not the Dolphins, not the Bills. Although the Dolphins beat the Patriots more often, the Jets were the team that actually gave them the best go. They beat them in a playoff game, to be fair. Maybe it's partly that, but I actually really liked the Jets when Rex Ryan was their coach. They were entertaining. I think what I hate about the Jets is that they are just the opposite of what you want to be as an NFL franchise. They just suck. They have no consistency at quarterback. I don't recall the last time they had a quarterback. I don't think they've had a quarterback that I respect in my entire life. Maybe outside of Chad Pennington. That's the best they can do. Their ownership's a joke. They constantly mess up their teams, even when they're talented. Now, they have like the most laughable starter in football with Justin Fields. The guy stinks. Aaron Glenn is not going to be a good head coach. They're just continuing this thing. They are just a laughingstock. Maybe it's not even that I hate them. I just think I laugh at them the most. They just suck. And they're in my division. They suck. I don't know what else to say. So at number 31, I hate the Jets because they suck. At number 30, we've got the Indianapolis Colts. Oh boy, where do I start with this one? How about the Peyton Manning-Tom Brady rivalry? That probably has something to do with it. How about the fact that I feel like the Colts, they have this aura of being soft. I just can never detach soft football from the Indianapolis Colts. And honestly, just a soft nature. This is the team that raised a banner for finishing second in a conference. Soft. They play in a dome. Soft. They complain. They change the rules. Soft. They pipe noise into AFC championship games. Cheaters. You think the Patriots are cheating? And nowadays, I don't understand this team. It's not like I hate them really anymore because they're not relevant. There's no reason for me to hate them right now. I find their coach to be very boring. I find their quarterback position since Andrew Luck to be uninspired. It's rather an old man who's past his peak, or it's an absolute bum who can't complete a pass. This team thinks they can build a champion by drafting guards and linebackers, and they continue to employ the most overrated GM in football. And don't get me started on the owner, Jabroni. So at number 30, I got the Colts. At number 29, I'm not sure how the Dolphins aren't 31. Honestly, I despise everything about the Miami Dolphins. It's like a combination of the Jets and the Colts. I almost had the Dolphins at 31, but the only reason I moved them up is because I like a couple of their players. And I love their theme song. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. They're much more memeable than most teams. I mean, Tua turned the ball over speaks for itself. All right. Tyreek Hill having 15 kids speaks for itself. But that being said, Tyreek Hill is one of the reasons I actually like their team a little bit. I like their receivers. Like, how could you not? They got the Penguin over there. They got Jonnu Smith. Mike McDaniel, I like sometimes, but he's really irritating. Like, he's that nerdy, irritating dude. He's like the substitute teacher that thinks he's cool. I can't respect his game, though, bro. I don't know what he's doing on the sidelines. He's smoking up on the sideline. What is that guy doing half the time, bro? The defense, well, they stink. I like Zach Sealer. I like Jalen Phillips. I like Jalen Ramsey. I always have. I mean, Tua's a meme. I feel sorry for the guy, but like, honestly, Tua is everything I don't like in a quarterback. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, Tua is probably my least favorite quarterback in the NFL, and Justin Fields exists. And Deshaun Watson. The reason I don't like Tua, like, he seems like the nicest guy, but he just seems like a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? You know when, like, a girl calls a guy a nice guy? That's what Tua is to me, bro. I don't like the vibe. And then when he plays, he's got no arm. The team is soft. They can't take the cold. They look like they want to go home to their mommies. They're so predictable. Their fan base is arrogant for no reason. Their fan base hates me probably more than most fan bases. And it's only because I'm a Patriots fan. I legitimately will make a correct decision and prediction about this team, and they'll still hate me. They won't be like, Mitch, you were right. You know what? You have a point. No. It's Mitch, you're a Patriots fan. What do you know? You're an idiot. Next. So we just continue to go through this same process with the Miami Dolphins. They haven't won a playoff game in basically my entire life. I mean, that is embarrassing. I'm almost 30 years old. Durkant, I feel sorry for you. At number 28, the Atlanta Falcons. Speaking of Ultra. I don't know why I hate the Falcons. I used to like the Falcons. You know, most of my life, I've liked the Falcons. I like the Falcons with Michael Vick. I mean, who didn't? As a guy my age, right? I liked the Falcons with Matt Ryan. I didn't dislike them. Julio, Roddy White, Michael the Burner Turner, right? You had some dogs over there. I like their offenses. Tony Gonzalez, shout out to him. There's something about the recent Falcons. You know what it is? Why they're at 28? They're the most unlikable front office in football. The one story about them saying that Bill Belichick was like 5th on their list of NFL head coaching hires was one of the most ludicrous things I've ever heard. And the fact that Raheem Morris was multiple spots ahead of him is outrageous. I just feel like this franchise, a lot like the Jets, they just have no idea what they're doing. This is why I don't like them. I don't like Raheem Morris. I think he sucks. I'm not really anywhere on Michael Penix yet. I do really like Drake London. He seems like a cool guy. And I love Bijan. I can respect their offensive line. I also don't respect the fact how an NFL franchise can legitimately never have a good defense. I don't know if the Falcons have ever had a defense that was actually good. Maybe once. 2017. Other than that, I can't recall a defense that's been this consistently bad. So I also don't respect that. You don't play defense, you don't get respect. So at number 28, the Falcons. Sorry, Ultra. Nothing to do with Ultra. At number 27, the Washington Commanders. And this one is very simple, guys. I'm not going to be too crazy. I'm starting to buy the Commanders. I'm starting to like the Commanders more. I will say that. I like Cliff Kingsbury. That's one guy I do like. He's a Patriot. Cool guy. I like his swag. But this is what it is. I'm going to be honest, okay? This is all honesty in this video. I don't like the Commanders because they took a lot of money from me last year. I'm not going to lie. I bet against the Commanders way too much last year, and I was wrong a lot. So forgive me for that. That's why I don't like your team. I have this. It's not that I hate them. I wouldn't outright cheer against the Commanders. It's that I just can't get over how wrong I am about this team right now. So I have to swallow my pride completely. So I'm not there yet. Bear with me, guys. I do like a lot of their players. Scary Terry's always been one of my favorites, even though he doesn't like that name anymore. But, Debo will be interesting on their team. So at number 27, the Commanders are just a team that, as an analyst, I can't like because I've been so wrong about them lately. which is really rare, to be honest. At number 26, the New Orleans Saints. I used to love the Saints. The Saints used to be my second favorite team in the league for a while when I was younger. And since they lost Sean Payton, and really since I think Tom Brady went to the Bucs, I haven't liked the Saints. Because the Saints had this arrogance to them, this edge to them, that I understood, but I also felt like was like kind of not warranted at the same time. And I thought it was hilarious that they lost to the Bucs after sweeping them in 2020. But I feel like the Saints are just this team right now that are just, they're stuck. And I just don't understand what they're doing. I just don't understand why they don't rebuild, why they don't press reset. Like, I like some of their offensive players, which kind of allowed me to rise up the list. Like Alvin Kamara, I've always kind of liked him. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, I like both those players. No, I don't mind like Cam Jordan. I think he's a cool guy. But I just feel like this team is so like meh right now. And based on the fact that I didn't like them at the end of the Sean Payton era, I really just didn't like them when I was cheering for the Bucs. So that's part of it. And then now they just refuse to give up. And it's just laughable. So that's why I have them at 26. It's pretty simple. At number 25, the Cleveland Browns. And honestly, if they still had Jameis, they'd probably be in like the top 15. That's how much of a difference like one player can make on a team. But they still employ Deshaun Watson. That certainly doesn't help. I actually like, some of the players. I really respect Jerry Jeudy for having a huge bounce back. David Njoku might be my favorite tight end in the entire NFL. So there's that. I like Myles Garrett, although him taking the money over the winning was kind of a put off or like something a little, an ick, so to speak. I love Denzel Ward. He might be my favorite corner in football. I think Kevin Stefanski is a pansy. I'm going to throw that out there. I like Jim Schwartz. Shout out to my boy Painter. Rest in peace. One of my friends grew up as a huge Browns fan for no reason whatsoever. Don't know how you would put yourself through that, but I've always liked the Browns because they kind of sucked, but they were always admirable because their fan base. I like the dog pound. But ever since they added Deshaun Watson, I just feel like it stripped all that innocence away from them, So at number 25, I have the Browns. At number 24, Jacksonville. Jacksonville is kind of just because they're boring. Like, I don't really have a good reason. I don't like Trevor Lawrence. I just feel like he has absolutely zero personality. Like, Trevor Lawrence is if a hockey player was a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? He has flow, but he's got no aura, no charisma. Like, I couldn't sit through a 5-minute interview with Trevor Lawrence. I like Liam Cohen. Duval, whatever the hell that was. I do like, Brian Thomas is a dog. But honestly, there's not a lot of players that really stand out to me. Josh Hines Allen, Aluakon, I like him. But there's not a lot of likable guys. Like, there's not a lot here. Also, the cons are like, especially Tony, if anybody knows who that is. Totally unlikable jabroni. So at number 24, I've got Jacksonville. At number 23, Chicago. It's actually a weird one. But when I was really thinking about it, I actually dislike Chicago more than I like them. And I think it's Caleb. I don't like Caleb. I don't dislike the player. Okay, he kind of sucks right now, but I don't know. I just don't. He's not my type of guy. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's the painted fingernails. I don't know if it's like the really outrageous statements he makes sometimes coming into the league. Like, he's just super arrogant without proving anything, and I just don't like people like that. So that's part of it, maybe. Ben Johnson, I like as a football coach, but he's very boring. Dennis Allen is kind of a dick, but I do like him as a defensive coordinator. I like some of their players, but I don't love anybody on their team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not like DJ Moore. He's a cool player, but I'm not like a huge DJ Moore stan. None of their players. Like Jalen Johnson, good football player. I'm not a huge Jalen Johnson guy. So, like, part of it is the Caleb Williams. He just doesn't fit Chicago. Like, Chicago to me is always defense. Something about this team right now just feels out of sorts. At number 22, the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know. Like, again, they're kind of like there. I feel like Trey McBride is probably my favorite player on their team. I like Greg Dortch. I like Budda Baker. He's cool. I don't know, man. Like, what Kyler, I guess, is kind of like the one where I would have liked Kyler if he would have turned out to be the guy that I thought he would have been. If that makes sense. Like, Kyler, if he was good, would be one of the coolest players in the league. But he's, like, not that good. He's just okay. And it makes him very unlikable. Because, like, it doesn't feel like he cares or he tries. He's, like, playing Call of Duty all the time. I can't respect it. I just have no respect for a guy that doesn't put 100% into his career or his project, Like, something about Kyler and his leadership bugs me. Jonathan Gannon is just, I'm not, like, a huge fan. And I just like the other teams in the division more, so it makes me like them less. So, at number 22, the Cardinals. At number 21, the Titans. I think Cam Ward will help me like them more. So that's why I kind of put them a little bit higher than I would have, because honestly, last year they were like one of the toughest teams to like in the league. They were unwatchable. They were so bad. And I hated how they got rid of Mike Vrabel. I hate the ownership. I actually liked this team when Mike Vrabel was their coach. I like the Derrick Henry era and all that. At least they had an identity, a purpose, like a style of play that was unique and fun, and you could get behind it. I like their old school toughness and mentality. And now it feels like they're trying to be this new school 7-on-7 team, but they just suck at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they think they can be the Globetrotters, but they just suck. Instead, you've got Will Levis throwing picks and going like this. Like, bro, I don't know. Their team's not good. Like, I like Jeff Simmons. I don't mind Calvin Ridley. Tony Pollard I like. Spears I like. But, like, honestly, they don't have a lot of good players. It's hard to like them. So, and their coach sucks. So, like, I think Cam Ward will help. At number 20, the Denver Broncos. I like Sean Payton. I always have. He is a little unlikable at times, though. So sometimes he's a little love-hate. He's like the coach version of Aaron Rodgers, if that makes sense. I kind of feel like Bo Nix, I'm not a huge fan of, but he seems like a good guy. Like, I'm not a huge fan of him as a player, but I feel like he's a cool guy. So I'm cool with him. Cortland Sutton, he's a dog. I like him, especially after the injuries, proving his worth. You look at the defense. I love some of their defenders. I love Nick Bonito. I'm actually not a big Pat Surtain guy. I don't know why. I can respect him, but I'm not a huge... them having Riley Moss is like the coolest thing ever. Like a white corner. I never thought I would have seen the day. I also like, the additions of Hufanga and Greenlaw. That certainly helps. I've always liked DJ Jones. I've loved John Franklin Myers. I love those players. So... Zach Allen is one of my favorites as well. So there's a lot of guys on defense that I really like. So I really like their defense. I think Vance Joseph's really underrated. I like McLaughlin. He's one of my favorites too. So yeah, I like a lot of their players, even the underrated guys. And then I really like Sean Payton and Vance Joseph. So that helps at number 20. At number 19, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is a weird one because I feel like if they sign Aaron Rodgers, they'll move like 10 spots up. And that's actually probably the opposite for a lot of people, but I am always one of those guys. I'm very nostalgic. So if you have like a great player that people think is not very good anymore, I'm instantly going to become a fan of them and try to like tell you why they're still good. Like, I'm very nostalgic. Like, that is like one of my things. So yeah, I can talk about like 2000s music and movies all day. Like, I'm Mr. Nostalgic. So if you give me Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers with that logo and that helmet and Mike Tomlin and those receivers with TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, I'm sold. Like, I'll be a fan. So, but if you give me Mason Rudolph, then I'm like, here we go again. They're like a bottom 5 team on my likable list. Now, the Steelers are a hit and miss for me. My friend Mike is a huge Steelers fan. And the Steelers have always been good, but not quite good enough to be better than the Patriots. So I never really was bothered by them as like a team that was an actual threat to the Patriots. So I never really had a problem there. But they were kind of that team that was always like the little brother, which was kind of annoying. So you kind of have to like, pat them down. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of like the Bills to the Chiefs. Like just knock their heads down. Like get the heck out of here, bro. But I will say I like TJ Watt. I like Cam Hayward. I mean, how can you not? I've grown to like Minkah Fitzpatrick. I like Pat Queen. I love Peyton Wilson. That was one of my dogs last year, one of my guys. I really do like DK Metcalf. George Pickens is a head case, but I like watching him play football. I like Jalen Warren. I like a lot of their players. Like, the problem with the Steelers is that they've stayed stagnant. They've stayed the same, which has become extremely frustrating because they've become this team that's going to make the playoffs and get annihilated every year, and that it makes for really bad content. That makes for very, very, very annoying season process every year as a content creator because every year Steelers fans tell me why it's different. Every year it's the same. I try to warn them. They get mad at me. Therefore, I hate the Steelers. Then all of a sudden I'm right. I lessen my hate for the Steelers, and it's a full circle. It's just a complete circle every single time. It's like the Steelers are decent for like half a year, then they suck predictably, then I stop hating them. Like that's the circle of love and hate for the Steelers. At number 18, the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are weird because I'm from Vancouver, so there's a lot of Seahawks fans in Vancouver, obviously, because of the close nature of Washington State to British Columbia. So obviously there's a lot of Seahawks fans. At times when they're, the Legion of Boom, I had a hit and miss love and hate with them. I actually really liked the Sean Alexander, Matt Hasselbeck Seahawks. They were a lot of fun to me. The recent era of Seahawks where they weren't quite good enough to be the Legion of Boom, but they were a little bit less, I actually grew to like them a lot because they were entertaining with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. And these recent teams, I'm kind of intrigued by them. I wouldn't call me liking them or disliking them, but I'm intrigued by Mike Macdonald. I like him as a football coach, and I like defensive coaches that really are scheme adverse or like really scheme cool, let's say. And then also, how could you not like Cooper Kupp? How could you not like Jackson Smith and Jigba as a player? Kenneth Walker is one of my favorite running backs. I like Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's a very cool guy. I don't love him as a quarterback necessarily, but I love him as a guy. He seems like a very cool guy to hang out with. Defensively, I love Leonard Williams. He's been one of my favorite defenders in football. I love Devin Witherspoon. I like Julian Love. I like a lot of their players. And then, I've been to a lot of their games, so I really like their stadium. The atmosphere is one of my favorite. I like when Seattle is good because it brings a different Pacific Northwest type of vibe to the NFL that's very unique. So at number 18, Seattle. At number 17, Carolina. My best friend Brett is a Panthers fan, so I've grown up to like them quite a bit. That being said, I just find their team right now to be very dull. Like, I feel like the Panthers with Cam, they would have been in my top 10. But the Panthers now, they're just very meh. Like, I don't really have anything to root for here. Like, Bryce Young, I wasn't a huge fan of. So that kind of strips it away. Also, Bryce Young, he just has this, like, little kid thing. Maybe it's because he's short. But I just feel like he's just so young. He's just, like, and it makes me feel old. I don't know. He's so young to me. Like, he's like a little boy. I don't know how to explain it. Chuba Hubbard's Canadian. Shout out to him. Love that guy. The receivers, Adam Thielen's cool. I've always kind of liked Adam Thielen. I mean, the O-line's good, so I respect him. Robert Hunt's a dog. I mean, you see that reception he made for the Dolphins. Defensively, there's like nothing. I can't grasp it. I just can't. There's people that love Derek Brown a lot more than I do. And the owner's kind of an ass, so I don't like that about them. I love their colors. I love their jerseys. I love their logo. I love the panther. I mean, that's just cool. So the blue, that's my favorite color. So I like that about them, North Carolina. But it's just like right now they're just kind of dull. So that's why they're at number 17. At number 16, the Vikings. The Vikings, the thing that's weird about them is I don't know how to feel about JJ because I'm more so a Michigan fan than pretty much at every other college because of Tom Brady. I don't really necessarily have a team. Recently, it's been Texas. I've always liked the U. I like Michigan. Like, I have a few teams that I'll root for. I even at times like Alabama, but I feel like Minnesota, with JJ, it's like, okay, is he going to be good? Because I didn't really love JJ in Michigan. Like, I just kind of felt like he was a passenger. And, with the Vikings, I like Justin Jefferson. Weirdly, he isn't like one of my favorite receivers, despite how freaking awesome he is. I actually loved him coming out of the draft. He was like my favorite guy. Like, I was extremely high on Justin Jefferson. Like, that was one of my best draft takes I think I've ever had on this channel. So, yeah, Justin Jefferson was like one of my guys, but like since he's been so good, like I honestly don't have a lot to really love about him. I think he's more of like, he's more tailored towards the kids, I feel like. What do we got? Aaron Jones I've always liked. Jordan Mason, I like him. I've never really loved Jordan Addison. Something off about him. Don't know what it is. I like TJ Hawkinson. One of my favorite tight ends because every single time he takes a hit, it's like he's in a car crash. I can respect that. Defensively, I love Brian Flores. You guys know that. I love Brian Flores. He's my favorite defensive coordinator in football. I like Andrew Van Ginkel is one of my favorite players, and period. He's so much fun to watch. When they had Gilmore, obviously I'm a huge Gilmore fan, always have been. And I like the Vikings. Like, my friend Jack's a Vikings fan. I've always liked the Vikings, like Adrian Peterson, Randy Moss. They've always had some really awesome players throughout the years. Brett Favre era as well. They've always been that team that's been good consistently, but never great. So they're always easy to cheer for because they're never good enough to really hate them, but they're always good enough to cheer for them. So at number 16, the Vikings. At number 15, the Giants. The Giants have moved up a lot on this list. A lot of that is Jameis. I love Jameis. Guys, I'm not even joking. Like, I love Jameis. This guy is amazing. I love this man. He is hilarious. He's everything I want a quarterback to be. He's so himself. He's Mr. Aura. He's so authentic. There is like not another authentic individual in the NFL like Jameis. I wish other people took notes. So I love Jameis. I like Russ. I don't dislike Russ. I don't like Russ the player right now. He's very dull because he's very, very, very predictable. But I like Russ. He's so corny. I mean, he's just so cheesy. It's outrageous. I've always liked Daboll. He's a former Patriot coach. I mean, I can't not like him. Love Tyrone Tracy. Love Malik Neighbors, the football player. I like Little Man That Can, Wan'Dale Robinson. Andrew Thomas, a good player. I like Jermaine Illuminor from that one stint in New England where he just like won me over as a player. The defense, Dexter Lawrence is so much fun and he's an amazing player. He's super unique. Javon Holland is from Coquitlam, British Columbia, like literally 10 minutes away from me, so I love him. Paulson Adebo, I've grown to like him a lot. I like Brian Burns, always have. He was like one of my first favorite edge rushers to study in the NFL draft. Like, I want to say his draft class is like the first draft class I ever studied as an edge class. So he was like my favorite guy that year, like his talent. So he's kind of like been one of those guys that stuck with me a little bit. So I like a lot of their players. I actually don't like Kayvon Thibodeau very much. I always feel like he's overrated. I've always been a Roy Robertson Harris fan, so they've made some pickups that I really like. I can respect the G-Men because they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl twice. I actually like Eli. The things that I don't like about the Giants are just like the David Tyree miracle catches and the memes. Like, I don't like like people talking about how the Giants beat the Patriots. Other than that, like, I like the Giants. There's nothing to dislike. I loved Odell. I loved Saquon. There's nothing really to dislike there. So at number 15, the Giants. At number 14, the Rams. They would have been higher a couple years ago. There's something about the Rams where I really like the Niners, so it's hard for me to like both teams at a really high level. And I feel like I really liked Stafford a lot more when he was in Detroit. Because, like, Stafford, I like Stafford. Don't get me wrong. I still really like Stafford. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks, especially just from a play standpoint. But I'm talking like I really liked Stafford as a player and a person before. And I'm not saying he somehow like fell off the cliff as a person. Now, I don't like his wife. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't like the things she said. I don't really like her. I don't like her vibe. I'm just going to throw that out there. But when it comes to Stafford, it's like he became cool. You know, like that band or that movie or that show that you liked when it wasn't cool? And then he became cool and it became less cool to like him? That's Matthew Stafford for me. That's what it is. Sean McVay, I really respect. Like, I actually really admire Sean McVay. I'm a coach in lacrosse, and I actually try to model myself after Sean McVay somewhat because I feel like we're kind of similar. So I actually try to take some of the things from him. But I feel like he is irritating sometimes. So I guess I'm calling myself irritating. But yeah, I really respect him. So there's part of that. But he's also very memeable, which also can be dislikable. I love that they picked up Devontae Adams. I love Puka Nacua. I don't like what he said about retiring at 30, but I love how he plays. He's so much fun to watch. What else? Defensively, there's nothing I really like about them, honestly. Like, this whole, like, young vibe that they've got going on, you feel like that would be very likable, but I guess they haven't grown on me enough yet. Like, I'm still kind of waiting in terms of the personalities to win me over. I'm not there yet with them. There's just nothing about them right now. I'm just like, meh. I don't have any sense of attachment there. So, at number 14, the Rams. I do feel like the rivalry with the Niners sours my love for the Rams a little bit. At number 13, the Chargers. I've always loved the Chargers. I don't think I've ever had a single NFL season where I've disliked the Chargers. And a lot of it is because the Chargers are one of the unluckiest franchises in NFL history. And a lot of it is like an endearing quality because of that. Like they're very lovable because they just constantly get screwed over somehow. But I mean, I've loved the Chargers ever since I took a trip to San Diego when I was like 10 years old. And it was the same year that LaDainian Tomlinson was rushing for 31 touchdowns, 28 touchdowns rushing, 3 receiving. And he set the record. And since then, I've always liked the Chargers. The 2006 Chargers, I talk about like they're a mythical legend on this channel, if you guys have ever noticed. Also, I've always loved Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees as their quarterbacks, and now I like Justin Herbert. I feel like Herbert could be a little bit more personality based, but I feel like I still like him. I still like how he plays. I still like his kind of stoic nature to him. I wish they had better receivers, but Ladd McConkey is a guy that I liked coming out of the draft, and I wish I liked him more, to be honest. Jim Harbaugh is kind of love and hate for me. I love him sometimes. I don't like him other times. He's kind of weird. He's just a weird person. Defensively, I like Derwin James when he's at his best. And I like Khalil Mack a lot. I always have. I like Henley at linebacker. And we'll see if the younger guys grow on me. But yeah, I mean, how could you not like the baby blues? How could you not like the yellow and the blue? How could you not like the lightning bolt? The Chargers. And it doesn't hurt that the Chargers like always lose to the Patriots. So I'll take that. At number 12, the Baltimore Ravens. Believe it or not, I like the Ravens. I always have liked the Ravens. And this is a respect thing more than a love thing. Something about the aura of the Ravens, I just really like. I just like the toughness. You know, it's opposite of Miami Dolphins. Like, I like the toughness. I like the grit. The Ravens have never had a soft team in my entire life. I don't think they've ever had a soft team in the entire existence of the franchise. I just like toughness. I like toughness in life. I like toughness in my teams. I like grit. I like defense. I like big hits. I like, the combination of Baltimore being tricky on defense and physical. It's always been the case with Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, to this new era, right? You go on down the line, Terrell Suggs, you go down the line, Kyle Hamilton, right? Like, this team has always been good on defense. I respect it. I also love Lamar. I've always loved Lamar. Lamar is, a guy that I've kind of come across as a hater because it's always him versus Josh Allen. And it's weird because those are like two of my guys, but I've always loved Lamar. And I feel like now, like the last couple of years, I've been a little bit of a hater at times because I feel like he's been just a tad overrated. But I feel like things are going to be turning around where I'm more of an advocate for him. So I'm excited for that. I love Zay Flowers. I mean, he was one of my favorite players in the draft a couple years ago. Derrick Henry is very respectable as an individual and a player, just the way he works. Harbaugh has always been a good coach that I respect, although a little bit of a crybaby at times. Mark Andrews I've always liked too, but, that drop against Buffalo was kind of rough. Isaiah Likely is a player that is kind of, I wish he would do more. Like, I wish he would have like a huge year. That's one of those guys for me. Kyle Van Noy, I love that guy. I just love the black and the purple. I love the mystique. There's something about the Ravens. They just have an aura that I really like. At number 11, the Eagles. They moved up a lot after beating the Chiefs. I'm not going to lie. If they would have lost the Chiefs, they might be in the bottom 5. But I've always liked the Eagles too. They're like the NFC's Ravens, if that makes sense. It doesn't hurt that Big Al is a fan of this team. I love Big Al. That's my guy. But I've always liked the Eagles. I liked Andy Reid's Eagles with Donovan McNabb, Terrell Owens, Brian Westbrook. I liked Deshaun Jackson and Michael Vick, even Kevin Kolb. I liked, Brian Dawkins, if I didn't mention him already. I like, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. I respect those guys. Malcolm Jenkins was a dog. I like, all their players. Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn McCoy, Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz. There's a lot of guys that I like. The Jason Kelsey even more than his brother, although now he's kind of irritating. Lane Johnson, their offensive lines. I like Howie Roseman because he's arrogant, but it's just so good. I think the Eagles they're like the Ravens of the NFC. They're skilled and they know it, but they're physical, they're tough. Everything about their mentality and about their aura and about their way of being speaks to me. Philadelphia, Rocky Balboa, underdog, punch you in the face. I love it. At number 10, we're entering the top 10 now. The Green Bay Packers, who this offseason I've become a little bit of a hater, but I can't deny I like the Packers. Now, I didn't like the Packers when Aaron Rodgers was getting the Tom Brady thing, the whole Tom Brady debate and comp and all the damn Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and all that stuff. Oh, couldn't stand the Packers then. Actually, really couldn't. 2011 through 2016, I was not a fan. After that, I can get behind the Packers. Obviously, ever since they've drafted Christian Watson, that really changed things because Christian Watson is one of my favorite players, and I think you guys know why. It's because it's one of the biggest, most successful videos on my YouTube channel. And I know that sounds very selfish or artificial, but it's true. I don't know what it is about that video that I made, but it just stuck with me. It's just it's had a huge impact. So that's a big deal. I like Jordan Love. I like Matt LaFleur's coaching, although, relax with the haircuts. It's a little bit much. Defensively, they frustrate me. I like some of their players, like Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary have always been some of my favorites. Even Alexander, when he's at his best, I like McKinney a lot. And I like the vibe of the young roster and the young team, and Josh Jacobs added to it brings toughness. And I respect the Packers for their history, like the 60s with Bart Starr and Vince Lombardi. I respect Brett Favre in that era. So there's a lot of the Packers logo. My uncle loves the Packers. There's something about this history about the Packers that I also really like because I'm a history guy. So at number 10, I have the Packers. At number 9, the Detroit Lions. The Lions, I've always liked, like I talked about with Stafford. I preferred them with Stafford. over Goff, just because Goff is lovable and likable and stuff, but he's just kind of like a goofball. Like he's got some Eli to him. Like Stafford was just way cooler, like suave. You know what I'm saying? Like more swag, if that makes sense. But I like a lot of their players. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams were two of my favorites coming out of the draft. Jack Campbell was another one of my favorites. I like Brian Branch. I love Aiden Hutchinson, my brother. As a lot of people say that we look alike, maybe a couple years ago more so than now. But yeah, I like Sam Laporta. I'm not a huge David Montgomery guy personally. I'm not even a huge Amon-Ra guy. He's kind of irritating, but I love Tim Patrick. Dan Campbell gets on my nerves sometimes, but I love Detroit as a city. I love what it stands for. I love the underdog Detroit vibe. I also feel like I like the colors. I like the logo. My dad's best friend has been a Lions fan since 1970, and he was always, raising me on the idea of Barry Sanders. And so I kind of always liked the Lions because of him. And then also because of, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford, the great players, but seemingly bad luck that they would always have. So at number 9, the Lions. At number 8, my dad's Cowboys. So pretty obvious, the Cowboys. They would be in the top 5 if they were a little bit better. I feel like when the Cowboys are not good, I like them less. When the Cowboys are good, I like them more. But there's something about the Cowboys that I kind of wish they were better for my dad. If that it's kind of, I don't know how to say it, but it's like I wish they would win something. Like I feel like they won everything before I was born. Like literally the year before I was born, they stopped winning stuff. And then when I was born, they haven't been to the NFC Championship. That being said, I loved the Cowboys with Tony Romo. I was a huge fan. Loved Des Bryant. That was one of my guys too. I also, I like Micah Parsons. I like CeeDee Lamb a lot. I love DeMarco Murray. Zeke, I was kind of always in and out. I liked Jason Witten a lot. Brandon Cooks helped when they had Gilmore. That helped a little bit. I don't know if I've ever liked any of their coaches. I can't really say. That's probably been one of the more unlikable parts. I'm not a huge Jerry Jones guy, but I also respect him a lot. And I like the aura and the vibe and the history and the Cowboys for what they are. They're so big of a part of the fabric of what makes the NFL popular. So I really respect that. I wish they were good for my dad, but I also feel like they're kind of annoying when they're good too. But yeah, they're a tricky one. They're a tricky one. At number 7, the Raiders. So I got the Raiders at number 7, and I've always loved the Raiders. I don't remember a time that I haven't liked the Raiders. Maybe like during the 2000s when they were just kind of irrelevant. I never really had any sort of feeling about them. But I've brought this up before. Gannon was actually my favorite quarterback, like my first favorite quarterback because of Madden, I think. But because I used to play with the Raiders first, I almost became a Raiders fan. And people don't know that. That's like a mythical legend on the channel that I just recently revealed. Also, I just love the Raiders. There's something about the autumn wind, the toughness, the nastiness of the 70s Raiders that I just love. I just wish they would get back to Al Davis. I think he's one of the coolest NFL figures of all time. Kenny Stabler, the silver and the black, the kind of like underdog nature to them. And then also, Oakland, the Oakland thing, but then also Vegas. Like I really like both aspects of them, the Vegas side and the Oakland side. I wanted them to be good when Josh McDaniels was there. That I tried to push for that, right? I always feel like they've had great players. Like Max Crosby, I love that guy. Khalil Mack, even when they had Derek Carr and Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree and all those guys, they were fun. And I love, Devontae Adams recently, Josh Jacobs recently, Charles Woodson. I don't know, the Raiders, something about the history what you think of when you think of the Raiders. You think of toughness. You think of that. You think of speed. You know, the Raiders are like a signification, if that's even a word, of what football should be played like. Nasty and fast. At number 6, the Texans. I love the current version of the Texans. I love Nick Caserio. That's a former Patriot GM who has built this team. And ever since he went there, I've been fascinated by his build. And I've always liked D'Amico. I actually really liked him as a player. And I've always liked the Texans. They were always that team growing up where they were always so close to being something special. Like the Matt Schaub era. I always found myself like playing with them in like NFL head coach and Madden. Like Steve Slayton and Arian Foster and Andre Johnson and Jacoby Jones and Mario Williams. And, you know, I'm going through like Joseph. All these players like J.J. Watt era. Like the Texans are just, there's something cool about them always. And then now with Stroud, I was a huge Stroud guy over Bryce Young. And I feel like I've been proven right to a certain degree. That is still kind of being accepted and being filtered. But I feel like Stroud is a dog. I love the way he plays. He's a pure quarterback to me. I love Nico Collins, how he plays. I've always loved Joe Mixon. I like Dalton Schultz. I like their defense a lot. I think their defense is a lot of fun. I wasn't a Will Anderson fan coming out of the draft, and I was mistaken. I've always liked Daniil Hunter. Derek Stingley, I wasn't a huge fan of him either, and he's proven me wrong. So even guys that have proven me wrong, I love the addition of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I love that guy. I don't know why. I just love watching him. He's so feisty and annoying. Like, I just like him as a football player. At number 6, the Texans. I really like their current version of the team, and I think they are a team that I just want to see be successful. At number 5, the Bengals. I've always liked the Bengals. I like the Bengals, especially because of Chad Johnson. That's probably, Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco. Like, I've always liked the Bengals because of him. I've always liked their logo and their colors and their helmets and then, the recent era. Like, I never really was a huge, like, Andy Dalton era fan just because they were kind of dull. I liked AJ Green, but I felt they were kind of just there. They were good, they were talented, but they were just never, living up to the billing. But I loved that, like, 05, 04 through, like, 08, 09 era with Chad Johnson and Carson Palmer. And then I really like the current version of them with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. And I really want them to win something. Like, I really do. I'm not a huge Zach Taylor guy, but I really like T. Higgins. I really love Chase Brown. I love Trey Hendrickson. He's one of my favorite defensive players. I like their Super Bowl run, the constant rivalry with the Chiefs. I think they bring something really good to the NFL. At number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills. This is mostly to do with Josh Allen. I'm not going to lie. Like, ever since Josh Allen has gone there, my love for the Bills has grown. And I think a big reason I don't dislike the Bills in any way is because when the Patriots were at their peak and at their best, they were not good. Like, the Bills sucked. And they were an easy, like, walkover football team. Brady was like 33-3 against them for his career. So, like, they were never relevant to hurt my Patriots, So I can't dislike them. Like, I remember them starting, like, Trent Edwards and J.P. Lossman. Like, they were atrocious, And then they trade away Marshawn Lynch out of nowhere. That was so pathetic. They had some good players and stuff, but I feel like just the Josh Allen era of this team and the fact that they've never won anything and they've been so close, and I just want to see them break through. It makes me really cheer for them in big games, Like, and Josh Allen is just a cool guy. Like, I love the way he plays. He was my guy coming out of the draft, and he was seen as like a bust, and I couldn't believe it. So he's one of those like fundamental players that like I scouted that I was right about. That's a huge deal for me. I like James Cook. I like Khalil Shakir. I like their, I like Deion Dawkins. I don't like Sean McDermott that much. I like Matt Milano. He's one letter away from Milani, okay? I like some of their guys. So, yeah, Joey Bosa helps at number 4. At number 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You guys know I love the Bucs. And, it's that fascination with Brady leaving, going to the team, and instantly falling in love with a lot of their players, following their story, following their championship run, and then instantly kind of like just loving that era and then even this era. Like, I'm a huge fan of Baker. I love what he stands for. I love the guy that he is. I love how authentic he is. I love the leader he is. I love the dog on the field that he is. Chris Godwin, literally when he got hurt, I started crying. Like, that's how much I like this team. That's how much I like Chris Godwin. Mike Evans, same thing. I probably would cry if Mike Evans got hurt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that was so weird too. Like, I was literally on a live broadcast crying. Like, I couldn't even control it. It was so, and then in the playoffs, I don't think I admitted this, but I didn't stream the game against the Commanders. I found myself really rooting for the Bucs in that game. Like, I was like outright cheering against the Eagles 2 years ago. I was outright cheering. Like, I was downright screaming at the TV. Like, I was like invested in the Bucs. So I still have a soft spot for the Bucs. I have a soft spot for Vita Vea and Jamel Dean and Antoine Winfield and Levante David and even Todd Bowles to a certain degree. Tristan Wirfs is my guy. I love their addition of Bucky Irving. I loved watching them this year. So yeah, the Bucs have been a team ever since the Tom Brady days. I really love them. And at number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners and the Bucs have been my second favorite team, kind of interchangeably over the last few years. The Niners, I'm a Kyle Shanahan guy. Like, that's been my coach. That's been my guy, Other than Tom Brady, that's been my favorite individual in the NFL ever since like 2016. So yeah, I love how he has evolved the NFL and the offensive game, and I love the coach that he is. So that's been the biggest reason why I followed them, and then I began to really love their players and their fans and their fan base and their history. And I think there's like a link between Niners and Patriots fans, I feel like, because of Joe Montana and Tom Brady. I don't know if this is like an unspoken thing, if this is there for Niners fans as well. You guys let me know in the comments, especially of the older variety. But I feel like there is this Joe Montana, Tom Brady respect thing. And the fact that Brady was a fan of the Niners also, there's something there for me. And then, Edelman's a fan of the Niners. Like, for some reason that some of my favorite Patriots were also fans of the Niners. And then just the love for Bill Walsh and that era of the Niners. And then I love the gold and the red. There's something like very prestigious about their look. And I like, their players. Like, I love Debo at his peak. And Christian McCaffrey is one of my favorite players. George Kittle is one of my favorite players. Doesn't hurt that he's a big wrestling fan. Trent Williams is freaking awesome. Nick Bosa is great. Fred Warner is a sweet, cool guy. How could you not like a lot of their players on their team? I mean, they're cool guys, man. But yeah, Shanahan was the reason I started following them, and then I just kind of fell in love with everything about the Niners. And they've at times they've even been my favorite team. I'm not gonna lie. Like in 2023, when the Patriots absolutely blew, it's probably them and the Bucs in 2020 and 2021. Like, the Patriots have been really bad, and I think what's gotten me over the hill for NFL fandom is my love for the Niners and the Bucs. Honestly. At number 1 is the Patriots, obviously. Even when I've soured on them because they've sucked so bad, I still can't get rid of the Patriots. Of course, they're my favorite team. They always have been. They always will be. And I'm really excited currently for them. Maybe they wouldn't be number 1 on this list if they did really suck and they had a bleak future and they had Gerard Mayo coming back and they didn't have Drake May. Drake May, it helps that my favorite quarterback in a draft class that I really liked coming out gets drafted by my favorite team. It helps that Mike Vrabel's coaching, one of my favorite players. It helps that they sign all these guys that I love, like Carlton Davis and Robert Spillane and Milton Williams and Stephon Diggs. All these guys now are on my team. That's really cool to me. Also, it's the Patriots. I mean, I don't have to explain my childhood. I don't have to explain all the games I watched them win, how much they mean to my life, how much their players have meant to me, what it means to be a Patriot, and what's that meant for my life as an individual. Real talk. Like, Patriot Way has been, a huge deal for why I'm a fan. That's kind of a weird thing to say, but I think it's true. So, yeah, it's the Patriots. I don't need to describe this. Okay, so there it is. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was a fun one to talk about and discuss. If you want me to do something similar and you have a similar idea, let me know in the comment section below. I could maybe do like players, things like that. But thank you guys for watching. It's Mitch, and we'll see you soon. Peace.